Hey everybody, this is Alexander Williamson with The Secret History Living in Your Aquarium, and today we are taking a look at the Ptychochromis grandidieri, or the East Coast Malagasy gold cichlid. And so here we have a truly remarkable fish. This is a fish found only in rivers and coastal estuaries of Madagascar in the central region. Not only is this fish said to be predominantly a brackish water fish, but all of the current reports I could find online said this fish tends to spawn due to salt being added to the water, so in brackish water. Interestingly, though, this is also the only fish in its entire genus that is brackish water tolerant. So the whole reason for today's episode and getting to learn about this increasingly rare and charming little cichlid is because my buddy Dan, the owner of the fish store in Seattle, the oldest fish store in Seattle, managed to spawn a pair in our local tap water, which has a pH of 6.8 and a TDS of 10 to 30 parts per million. So not hard water, not alkaline water, and certainly not brackish water. Other keepers, including those from the Chicago Cichlid Association, report keeping this fish in a 90-gallon tank with as much as 2 pounds of salt being added. So this tank here, having no salt whatsoever, is quite an extreme contrast and possibly something new for the hobby to consider. So the Ptychochromis grandidieri is a beautiful species of Madagascar-based cichlid, and they are endemic to the eastern coastal river basins and can also be found considerably far inland, with reports of them being found up to 65 miles or over 100 kilometers in towards the center of the island up those rivers. They have gone by several names over the years, including 2 former Latin names, Tilapia madagascarensis, and during the 1800s, and then there was the Tilapia grandidieri. And all of that was kind of up in the air until the genus of Ptychochromis was created by the French ichthyologists Dr. Henri Sauvage, or Henri Sauvage, and German ichthyologist Dr. Steindachner in the year 1881. The official name and taxonomy was the subject that they couldn't really settle upon amongst 3 of the formative Malagasy ichthyologists, and when one of them passed away, Alfred Grandidieri, they solidified the name of the genus in 1921, the year of his death. So he was a French naturalist and explorer who was instrumental in the discovery and classification of a further 9 species of cichlids in this same genus, and he brought specimens back to the European, French, German, and English ichthyologists back in Europe. So the Gold Coast Malagasy cichlids are a bit unique for a Madagascar cichlid, and they exhibit very intense and devoted parental care by both parents for up to several months. They're omnivorous and still need a fair bit of protein, kind of like your standard large cichlid, and a normal medium to large base cichlid diet will suit them well. Now they need a tank of at least 55 gallons, and they're generally a more peaceful cichlid than violent, but when spawning, they are extremely territorial. And they don't necessarily rip up, eat, or harm other fish, but they definitely chase them away continuously. And so 50 gallons of space or more for themselves is definitely recommended. Now, they can be placed with other medium to large cichlids if they have a peaceful disposition. However, the brackish conditions that most people keep these fish in really kind of limits your choice of tank mates and definitely limits your choice of plants. However, as we see here, Dan is kind of doing something different, so maybe we have new options out there. So books and reports online that say they need that brackish and plant-free tank also report that they must have good flow and lots of water changes. And Dan has done that because they are a riverine species. Unfortunately, these fish are particularly susceptible to ick and other skin infections because they are a fish from the remote island of Madagascar and have not evolved the diversity of defenses for all the different pathogens from mainland species. So many Malagasy cichlids have little natural resistance to parasites and can fall ill alarmingly fast. Furthermore, normal cures like dyes, copper, and over-the-counter fixes are only partially effective as a preventative measure. So this is where salt comes into caring for these fish, and putting at least 1 or 2 tablespoons per 10 gallons is a really good idea with these fish, and they can tolerate much higher levels, as I mentioned earlier. So they are substrate spawners and stone spawners. So if you supply them with a flat rock or slate, they will generally start becoming territorial and begin cleaning the rocks meticulously, and this cleaning behavior usually coincides with a considerable increase in their beautiful coloration and the boldness of their lateral multi-spotted pattern, with some individuals turning a bright lime green, others turning canary yellow, and still others turning even shades of red and tan. Once laid, the eggs will be guarded by both parents until they hatch, which is usually 4 to 6 days. So, notably, this pair laid around 200 to 300 extremely bright orange to yellow-colored eggs and had about a 20 to 30% die-off rate of those eggs. The ones that were not viable kind of turned a milky color, and they were on the outside of the clumping of eggs on the stone, and they kind of seemed to show this foggy white color by day 2. So it's possible that the lack of brackish water or salt could have impacted this. However, still 80% of the fry hatched, and the minerality and hardness of the water didn't seem to affect them. Regardless of the lack of the salinity or alkalinity, the pair spawned within less than 1 week of being in this 200-gallon acrylic planted tank, which is also located in front of the shop in the store window that receives a lot of natural light plus a lot of human foot traffic. And this we thought might stress the fish, but didn't seem to. A few days after the fry hatched, they were free swimming and capable of digesting newly hatched baby brine shrimp, vinegar eels, and larger food like little critters, scuds, and things in the tank. They are fairly slow-growing fish and take several months to transition from their little tadpole-like fry stage into juveniles. Now, in their juvenile stage, as they're growing to adulthood, they go through several striped and speckled pattern variations, and once they're fully mature, around 12 to 15 months, they'll be able to spawn, and they'll be fairly small with a size of only 4 or 5 inches, because it takes them up to 6 years to get to their adult size of 9 to 12 inches in the wild, or somewhere between 20 and 30 centimeters. And in captivity, it's also pretty common for them to kind of max out at 6 or 9 inches rather than those top numbers. So although these face considerable threats to their existence in the wild, they're still one of the best Madagascar cichlids to start with. And most other Madagascar cichlids are either endangered or critically endangered or extinct in the wild. And the popularity in Malagasy cichlid keepers means that there's various color morphs available out there, and that they're fairly affordable. So even though they are a rare occasion to encounter in most parts of the country and world, they are usually generally affordable due to the fact that they spawn in numbers of 1 to 300 fry per spawning, and they can spawn every 3 months. However, the fact that fish keepers kind of need a large tank to keep them seems to limit the price between around $25 to $45, depending on size, location, and their color patterns. So I hope you guys enjoyed these little guys and not so little parents that are with them. And I want to thank you all for tuning in to The Secret History Living in Your Aquarium. If you enjoyed this little deep dive on care and the history of this beautiful fish, I'd greatly appreciate it if you considered hitting that like button. And for more episodes and years of content like this episode, go ahead and subscribe and click on the alerts for new content. Or, for only $1.99, become a channel member, help me do what I love to do, and receive 4 extra episodes a week of all that is new in the academic world of ichthyology and freshwater ecology. Thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.